Hello, my name is Sonali and I welcome you back to a new episode of Around the World in 7 Days. The world understands the potential destruction caused by the atomic bomb very well. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki of Japan have even suffered its sting. Japan's Fukushima city has also faced radiation hazards after a nuclear reactor failed in 2011. Similarly, in the year 1986, the Chernobyl accident of the Soviet Union shook the world to its core. According to an estimate, about 1,25,000 people were killed due to that accident. However, clear statistics of death are not available. After this, humanitarians had hoped that perhaps now the race among the countries to make nuclear weapons would end. But things did not happen as per their expectation. Countries around the world still have the desire to acquire nuclear weapons. Taiwan is one such country. It considers itself as a separate and independent country, while China considers it as its integral part. In this battle of approval and denial, Taiwan feels a perpetual threat from China. Because of this, it wants to strengthen its own security measures. For this, it considers it's necessary to have its own nuclear weapons. However, it has not been successful in achieving this in the last 6 decades, and America is said to be the main reason behind this. However, now the debate has intensified in the Pacific region whether America should include Taiwan in its nuclear umbrella or not. Actually, this debate started after a session of Taiwan's legislature, where one of Taiwan's top ministers was answering a question. When asked by a legislator in Taiwan's Foreign and National Defense Committee, Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu confirmed for the first time that Taiwan and the US are discussing a strategy related to nuclear weapons. However, according to him, the strategy is not to host nuclear weapons on the island. Rather, if the island comes under a nuclear attack, it is expected to retaliate with nuclear weapons from the US. However, there has been no official confirmation from the US side on this claim. Therefore, the question is, how much truth is there in this claim of Taiwan? Also, should America take Taiwan under its nuclear umbrella? If taken, what would be its implications in the Pacific region? We will try to understand all these questions in this episode. But first of all, let's take a look at Taiwan's nuclear program. Taiwan began exploring the possibility of developing its own nuclear weapons in the 1960s. At the beginning of this decade, China conducted its first nuclear test at a place called Lop Nur. This caused a worry in Taiwan about its own independent existence. To counter this existential threat, it started focusing on developing its own nuclear weapons. In fact, earlier in the year 1956 itself, under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek, National Tsinghua University built its first nuclear reactor. After this, Taiwan started training and skilling of its nuclear energy experts. Further, in the late 1960s, Taiwan began an ambitious program to operate nuclear power facilities. After this, in October 1964, it conducted its first nuclear test. It was carried out following the orders of President Chiang Kai-shek. To give further momentum to this program, Chung Shan Science Institute was established. It was largely funded by the military for research projects in the nuclear, electronic, chemical, and missile fields. It succeeded in producing plutonium for its nuclear weapons in the 1970s. But due to US pressure, Taiwan had to stop its nuclear weapons program in the year 1976. However, it continued in a clandestine manner until the 1980s. During this phase, Taiwan reached very close to doing a nuclear detonation. It is believed that at that time, Taiwan was barely a year or two away from making an atomic bomb. But when the world came to know about this, Taiwan had to destroy its nuclear reactor at the National Chung Shan Institute of Science and Technology. If seen from Taiwan's perspective, its decision to acquire nuclear capabilities was driven by a strategic need as a means of self-defense in a challenging geopolitical context, and China's first nuclear test was a major factor in this. However, Taiwan had to bear the brunt of this. Because of this entire episode, Taiwan suffered several diplomatic setbacks during the 1970s. including losing its seat at the United Nations and the US establishing diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China. The US was unwilling to provide diplomatic recognition or explicit security guarantees to Taiwan. Instead, it strongly opposed Taiwan's nuclear program. In this way, Taiwan was isolated globally. This made Taiwan susceptible to an aggression by China, which was neither in Taiwan's interest nor America's interest. Now that brings us to the next question, that why America should keep Taiwan under its nuclear umbrella. If we go into the background of this question, Professor John Mearsheimer of the University of Chicago wrote an article in the year 2014 titled "Say Goodbye to Taiwan." In it, he wrote that if China becomes relatively more powerful in the future, or the balance of power shifts sharply against Taiwan and the US, Taiwan will have to give up its current de facto independent status in the face of China's continued rise. At the same time, it will have to find its own way of existence like Hong Kong. He further stated that if Taiwan does not do so, China will forcefully occupy it. However, two options are available to prevent a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan. One option is that Taiwan should either be brought under the US nuclear umbrella or it should have its own nuclear weapons. However, the latter option has already been ruled out by the US. But there is still no clarity about US support for Taiwan. There is still a shadow of doubt on this. In fact, bringing Taiwan under the US nuclear umbrella will be beneficial to both Taiwan and the US. This will send a strong signal to China that the US is determined to protect its allies in the region and is ready to respond strongly to any aggression towards Taiwan. This will strengthen Taiwan against any possible Chinese aggression. Along with this, regional stability will also be promoted. A practical and better option would be an assurance by the US of a nuclear security guarantee to Taiwan. If this is not done, Taiwan will continue to pursue nuclear ambitions, which will fuel regional tensions. And if this happens, then it will be a matter of concern for the entire world. So that's all for today. See you in the next episode. But before that, let's note down a question based on today's story. Nuclear weapons are a threat as well as a security provider to the global order. Critically examine.